www.offthecorner.net. You're watching the Fact Project, and FACT, of course, is an acronym that stands for Fundamental African-Centered Thought. The goal here on the Fact Project is to convey some facts and some information to members of our community. Of course, it is the first Monday of the month, so it is the Agyei Tyehimba edition of the Fact Project. Wukusu, brother Agyei.
Wukusu, good brother. How you be, man?
I'm okay. I'm okay this morning, man. I'm grateful to have you on as usual. I want to start by saying today's knowledge of self is Kuji Chagulia, because it's the second day of the month. And Kuji Chagulia, of course, you know, is to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves, instead of being defined, named, created, and spoken for by others. So Kuji Chagulia is the Kiswahili word for self-determination. Self-determination is defined as free choice of one's own acts. As people of African heritage, we must be determined to do for ourselves and bring about a self-sufficient status for the race. The key concept that came out of the Garvey movement and the Black Power movement was the idea of independence and self-determination. The most basic right of any group of people is the right to self-determination. So I just wanted to put that out there on the table. What are your thoughts on this idea of self-determination, which was the key idea in the Garvey movement as well as the Black Power movement?
Yeah. Self-determination is one of the most important principles of nationalism and Pan-Africanism. It's basically, and it's the more political understanding of it is that we have to be self-reliant, that we should have control and ownership of our own natural resources, our own intellectual resources and cultural resources, and that we should be able to do fair exchange and trade with other people, but not we going to them hat in hand doing the Sambo dance for their help. We should be in a position to exert influence and run our own affairs and govern ourselves. So self-determination is everything. And that also in the Kwanzaa sort of rendition of it, that would express itself as things like somebody saying, I want to get rid of these European names. I want to name myself. I want to name myself African names with powerful meanings that identify who I am or who I want to become. That would be one. Or I'm going to dress and sometimes wear African clothing, or, you know, I will name my children African names, or this program we create will be named after an ancestor that, let's say, Europeans vilify and demonize, but we see as a hero or shiro for the work they've done. So all of those could be kind of expressions, if you will, of self-determination. And of course, I'm 1,000,000,000% for it.
Okay. Today's topic is, do you really have political education? And I want to share my screen, if I may, for a moment, so we can get some clarity on what political education actually is, because it may not be exactly what people assume it is. So politics is defined as the art or science of government, the art or science concerned with guiding or influencing governmental policy, the art or science concerned with winning and holding control over government. And of course, it goes on and on. This is kind of giving us the vague general definition of politics. I know today you're going to go in a little bit of a different direction, but what are your thoughts on the technical definition of the word politics?
Well, when white people are defining things in a strict dictionary type sense, it's always going to be different from what we mean in a colloquial sense, or in a grassroots, certainly in a grassroots sense. When Black people say we need political education, they are not talking about how to vote, how many branches of government we have, who's an executive branch. No, that's a whole different thing. They're talking about traditional party politics and things of that nature. Political education is really talking about that body of information, skill set, and thinking that we need to be effective warriors for our liberation and for self-determination. So now it may include, so in my understanding of political education, it will include, you should know your first 10 amendments of the Constitution. You should know basically what to summarize those rights. You should know why those came about. Why did these colonists feel such a need to put that in? Because of what they went through with Britain. So if you read those amendments, you know exactly how they were persecuted and oppressed by Great Britain. And it's also something to put in their face to say, well, the nerve of you trying to regulate people's right to own weapons, because you know how important it was for you to have weapons, right? When the British were overrunning your colonies, which is why you argued for the right to have them. So it's important that we have that context, but we're not going to be here on some the three branches of government, and no, that's not what we're doing. So they are distinctly different meanings. And actually, as a teacher, we call that civics, technically. When you're teaching the specific operations of government and party politics, that's civics.
Okay, so when you talk about politics, you're not talking about, conversations about AOC and voting for Bernie Sanders.
No, sir.
Okay. So
no, sir.
So let's get into your definition of politics. Like, how do you define that separate the definition that I just gave?
Well, I tend to look at many things political from a framework, from a Malcolmian analysis, meaning through the lens of how Brother Malcolm articulated it. Because I think he's one of our finest Black liberation theoreticians. He never gets that honor, but he was one of our best Black liberation theorists. How to get free, how we should think, how we should move, who we should ally with. And Brother Malcolm says in Harlem Liberation School, as you know, uses the acronym. He said, wake up, clean up, stand up. So that becomes my framework for self-empowerment, my framework for how the Harlem Liberation School engages in the community, the stuff we teach, and what it is designed to do is precisely to empower us to wake up, clean up, stand up. So in other words, political education is that body of information, skill set, consciousness raising that will help Black people develop Pan-African and I might say Pan-African nationalist consciousness, to identify with Africa and to recognize it as the cradle of not only civilization, but humanity itself, to understand how we were oppressed, the different ways we were oppressed, colonization, enslavement, under the whole rubric of imperialism, why they did that, why they chose us, how they exploited us, how we fought back. All these things that are part of political education. What ideologies or intellectual frameworks have our people historically drawn upon or studied to better understand the condition we're in, who caused it, and how to get out of it, and how to fight back? So it will talk about nationalism. It will have to talk about Pan-Africanism. It will have to talk about socialism, and it will have to talk about feminism, amongst other things. It will include information about our foundational, our important individuals in this movement. We need to know Frederick Douglass. We need to know Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Anna Julia Cooper, Francis Harper. There's a lot of people. Brother Garvey, Brother Malcolm. There's so many, right? We need to know important social political movements in our history. And we're not studying this for some bet on who knows more and did you know? In the bar, we doing trivia games. We studying this in a very self-serving way. We're trying to serve ourselves liberation. We're studying this to know what our ancestors did before and what worked, what we know works, and what we know is shaky, right? So we know that knocking on doors, calling people, seeing them face to face, following up calls, big brother, big sister, mentorship relationships, those things work. We know that, right? It means that we political education causes us to critique, not to just look back in the past and say they did this in Africa, so we doing it. Critique that, okay? In that part of the great Zimbabwe civilization, this was the weather, this was the terrain, this was the economic system. Does that exist here today? No. So some of the things they did may not relate well here. right? So it's being able to be critical, not just accepting things because people said it, no matter how important or famous they were, but to be critical. And also teaching people to have a critical lens, right? So a certain president pardons a notorious Chicago drug lord and gang leader. Political education, people without political education, black community would be like, yo, Trump pardoned Larry Hoover. I told you he was all right. I told y'all. The politically astute brother sisters say, oh, good brother. Certainly you don't actually believe that Donald Trump pardoned this man for anything worthwhile and noble. He pardoned him to maybe have a perception amongst black people like us that exactly what you said. That when we come to criticize him, when we call for his impeachment immediately, when we say that he's a traitor for his various acts of malfeasance, you will say, nah, man. Nah, I'm actually gonna vote again for that dude, man. He's an honorary black man. He freed a brother Larry Hoover. You know how we did with Bill Clinton because he played the sax on our Arsenio Hall show?
Yeah.
That political education is supposed to make that mind sharp. You don't believe everything people tell you. You don't recycle gossip. You be like, where'd you get that from? Right. Because you want to establish credible news sources because you don't want to believe or spread misinformation, misinformation or gossip. So political education does all that. It teaches us. It can include, though not necessarily, it should include character development. So as I see it, political education is not just the social political, it's also internal stuff. It's teaching black people that, to become incorruptible, so when a white man come to you offering you a record deal, pack of cigarettes or whatever turns you on and floats your boat, you're gonna say, nah, I'm good. Tell me more about like Malcolm did as a stand-up. We talk about OGs, a stand-up man. He was a stand-up man because when the FBI came to Malcolm, and Malcolm had every reason, personally, to cooperate because he'd been kind of mistreated and mishandled by the nation, who he gave 13 years, 12 of his 13 years after prison of his life, right? Almost his entire life out of prison, he gave to the Nation of Islam. And they kind of dissed him and kind of played him to the side, right? So he was hurting behind that. They took his house, bombed his house. He had no money in the bank. The car he had was theirs. The home he had was theirs. So his family and he were in a very fragile position. They also trying to kill him several times, allegedly. Right? So he had every reason when the FBI said, man, tell us about the nation, to start singing like Luther. But being a stand-up man, even though he had beef with him, even though he had people from the organization trying to kill him, what does Malcolm say? You must be joking. I'm going to tell you anything about the Nation of Islam. And what did he say? He played with them for about 10 minutes and they went on their way. That's the type of men and women we want. Stand-up men and women. Warriors, as Brother Walima Baruti would say. Frontline warriors. People who have that critical, they know. He says immediately, why they come here? Why they ask him about they're taking advantage. They know that we have beef, so they're hoping that they can come get information from me and use me to discredit them. Because if I say something about the Nation of Islam, whoa, right? Because of who I am in the nation. Political education helps a man and woman to make those type of decisions quickly too. This person coming to me, automatically, I'm good. Can't help you. It might be mad as hell at the person they talking about or the organization. Now, how many of us, if they came to us and asked us about our ex, or asked us about some person we grew up with, who we had bad situation with, how many of us would be so quick to start singing and telling all that bad verses? We say, I don't have nothing to tell you, bro. You're not going to use me to hurt this person. I may want to hurt him, but you're not going to use me to do that. I'm not doing that. Yeah. Right? So it should also cultivate self-love and self-confidence. And it should definitely show us how oppression works in real time. People should come from political education courses and classes, understanding how this world works, not the world they want 20 years from now, right now, how it works and how you need to navigate it successfully and effectively, right? And I think, brother, if I may, are you with me, good brother?
Yeah, I'm with you. Continue.
All right.
We listening.
If I may, I want to give a framework that says a lot of what I said in a simpler way for people to remember it.
Okay.
And that is, I use a framework from a movie that everybody so called The Wizard of Oz. I'm gonna go through this quickly. The Wizard of Oz is a fiction movie with a lot of political realities in it. And there's 4 main characters. If we focus on those 4 characters, political education is trying to eliminate the thinking of those 4 characters. So Dorothy is lost. Don't know her butt from her elbow. Don't know where she is. Don't know how to get back home. Okay. They all have a problem. That's her problem. The scarecrow has no brain. So that means, obviously, he's unintelligent. Some may say harshly stupid, inarticulate, incompetent, can't get right, can't do things that require intelligence. Then you got the Tin Man who has no heart. That obviously is symbolic. Insensitive, abusive, narcissistic, controlling, toxic, and might be characterized by an archetype in our community that we loosely use the word thug. He's a beast. He's a thug. They savage, knocking old ladies over the head, abusive to women, all these things. And then you have the lion, who's called the cowardly lion. So we know his problem because it's in his name. He's a punk. He don't stand up. He's the biggest, strongest, most feared of everybody, but he's the least willing to stand up, right? Now, if you look at it that way, and those are archetypes of our community, those characters represent people right in our homes, relationships, households, community organizations, government, whatever. We got people who are lost, don't know they think that they saying publicly, I'm not African. They're having extended videos dressed like Native Americans, talking about I'm not African, I'm Native American. And they don't understand that you can actually be both. They don't get it, right? So we got people saying, I'm not African, or I'm not black, trying to run away from that. They're lost, clearly. You got people that's voting for Trump, not in a tactical way, because they really love him. And they really see him as a savior of black people. They're Dorothy. They're lost, bro. Mm-hmm. Then you got people who, when you say, man, we need help, we need to get this program going, the kids need this, whatever, they say, man, I can't do that, man. Say, why? Man, I'm not smart enough. I didn't do good in school. That's not me. They bow out when it comes time to step up and show competence and leadership and intelligence and solve problems, not just complain, but actually analyze why that is, how it affects us, who's responsible, and orchestrate a movement to challenge who's responsible and get what we want, or completely create our own thing. That takes intelligence to do that, right? People that don't want to do that, or people that actually have the smarts to do it. They have some direction. They know who they are and where they come from, and they got the smarts. But you know what their thing is? They scared to death, brother Ra. They scared.
Yeah.
Right. There's a famous Public Enemy song. Some of our best educated, best equipped, best prepared troops refuse to fight. That's the cowardly lion. He got all that. She got all that, and they refuse to step up. Right? We got people like that in the community. You say, hey man, you got engineering, you got this, you a math, do this, you don't know, you a lawyer, and they say, them white men, and they give you a million reasons, but they're scared. They're scared. They're not even brave enough to tell you they're scared. They're scared, and they come up with because this and that. Now you scared. I get it. Okay. And then you got the brothers and sisters out here that's the community predators, good brother. The 10 men. No heart. So they think. Political education is supposed to help us diagnose that in our community. To know what we see when we see it, and have medicine and vaccinations, if you will, and medicine to cure the fact that we have no direction or purpose. We just get up and just living, just going through life. What you doing? I don't know. What you doing tomorrow? I don't know. What's your 3-year plan? I don't know. Well, what you gonna do 5 years? I don't know. No direction. Who are you? I don't know. Where you going? Where you from? Who's your people? That's Dorothy. We're trying to cure them, give them direction, connect them to Africa, help them understand that just because we're here don't mean that we're from here. That's we were brought here and adapted to here, but this ain't us, bro. We not like them. Kendrick Lamar is completely right and exact, right? It's also to say to the people who think they're dumb and stupid and can't do nothing, to teach them correctly that you were taught that by somebody that don't want us to organize. And that, in fact, some of the people who think they're the dumbest sometimes are some of the smartest. If you look at who can solve problems, who's set to go and makes it happen, who's consistent, everybody's in, frazzled and oh my God, they're calm and poised. Oh no, let's try this. That's leadership, and that happens not just in some ivory tower of a college or a governmental organization. It happens in your home. It happens right on the block. There's people on the block that when there's beef, there's people that people can go to, and those people can go and resolve that beef because they exert that level of leadership and they're respected and trusted. So political education in a nutshell is supposed to identify the Dorothys, 10 men, scarecrows, and cowardly lions and give them what they need to break them out of their neurosis and psychosis that they don't have something. Because the trick here is this, Ra. It's not necessarily that all those people actually don't have those things. Is that they've been made to believe they don't have those things or can't get those things, right? So they're living in the prison of ignorance because they believe what they were taught and conditioned to believe. And I should say, if you think this is just something that happens with teenagers, 20-somethings, 30-somethings, you are incorrect. This can happen. You could be a senior citizen sitting around here saying, I can't leave. I don't speak. I can't. Hey, you are what you believe you are, man. That's the trick. That's the secret sauce. You are what you believe you are. So if you believe you're nothing, you'll be treated like nothing, and people will not regard you.
Yeah,
if you believe you will know authority, you will know authority. People will read that and you will get no authority. They won't listen. If you believe that you're supposed to live in over crowded conditions with a garbage pile 8 feet high and you cool with it, that's just what you're going to get until you decide we don't want that.
Yeah,
that's the whole trick. So that's what political education is supposed to do, Ra. It's supposed to change the way we think about ourselves.
Okay.
Not so much about white folk, about you, who you are, whose you are, your abilities. So if I was to sum it up, that's how I would say it.
Okay, so politics comes from the word policy, and the people that create the policy are politicians, and the police in the street enforce the policy created by the politicians. You're talking about something slightly different.
I'm talking about I don't want people to get caught up in technical definitions that don't give them meaning. People, when I say you're lost, you think you're stupid, you think you're incompetent, you're afraid to do nothing. People will connect with that. So I'm trying to put it in a language that I feel is relevant. Because here, check this out. I want to make this real clear. I don't want anyone to leave here confused. When you don't have political education, proper, thorough, solid political education taught by those who are solid and thorough themselves, when they shoot Pookie or disrespect Raynisha or they body slamming some cop, is body slamming some 14-year-old girl on the ground, you'll be like, oh my God, Did you see what they? I can't believe it. Why can't you believe it?
Mm.
They are the descendants of the people that brought you here from Africa, butt naked, raped the men and women, disconnected you from your culture, forbade you to practice your drums, sing your songs, pray to your deities, and you don't believe they would do that? What that's a sickness. You should absolutely believe everything they do.
Mm.
Nothing they do that's wicked should surprise you. You should just be like, damn, here they go again. That's a logical response. Damn, here they go again. But you should never be like, oh my God. Because if somebody could enslave you, sexually abuse you, your children, sell your children like property, then everything else is on the table.
That's right. That's real talk.
Everything else is on the table.
That's
But
right.
if you don't know that history and that legacy, and that the people that did that all have one thing in common, they come from Europe, then you don't have that context. Then yeah, it might seem shocking, even though every year of your life they've been killing black people in the street. And it's just that social media makes it more accessible because everybody has a smartphone now. But this has been happening since our great grandparents were walking this earth. It's nothing new. The names change, the context changes, but it's the same thing. Or when you don't have a strong political education, you believe everything you hear. Yo, did you know that? You be like, what? Yeah. Popeyes is giving out $300 checks and a 6-piece box of chicken. If you vote for Donald, what? Oh, let me go over it. Nah, see, you're gonna understand that information is one of our most important resources. So we're careful about what we say and to whom we say it. We're also very careful about what we believe. And you will go and you will verify information if it's important enough for you to even put that energy into. You'll verify that first to make sure. You know what I'm saying? Farrakhan married a white woman. What? Word? Now you go around spreading something, you ain't even go verify that? So you're part of the problem. You're assassinating this man's character. You didn't have the sense to go and say, wait, let me go check that out. Let me see recent pictures. Let me talk to people I know that's in the loop. Let me read the final call. Just spread it. If you don't have good political education, you don't see value in yourself. You don't see value in your people. And therefore, you don't believe we're going to win. You don't believe we're going to win. And it's going to come out. You don't believe we're going to win.
Yeah.
So when people say, oh, what's it? You come with a million reasons why it ain't gonna work, and we gotta do this. Yeah, we know we gotta figure things out. But if you don't believe we're gonna win, say it up front and save us the time and trouble.
Yeah,
you're gonna believe that other people are smarter than you, other people more organized than you, other people figured it out, and you're not gonna understand. We've been put through a process that other people haven't been put through, and all other people you quoting is people who took that from us. But if you don't have that context, it will seem like we're just biological muck-ups. Like we just can't get it right, and everybody else. You have to know the context and the history.
Yeah.
Right? People more talented, smarter. Their sugar is sweeter. Their ice is cold. No. In fact, the fact that we're here at all, that any of us can read, write, do math, know our names, name our kids names with meanings. Create institutions named after people we love and value. Insist that we have education, protect our babies. The fact that we do that is a miracle, given what we were put through. But if you don't know that, you think we the most backwards things on earth.
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't have political education, you will have a negative view of Africa, almost definitely. You'll be on them African booty scratches. You'll look at your pigment and your color. You'll have a problem with that. You make jokes about how black you are, how big your nose is, how big your lips are. You'll poke fun at the things that make you special and unique because subconsciously you think they're ugly. And back in the day, people fought over things like that.
Absolutely.
Right? And if you don't have that strong political education, you will ultimately, and here's the real thing, ultimately, you will refuse to do anything to educate, heal, protect, or empower yourself or your people. You won't do anything. You'll come up with reasons. You'll have the most sophisticated. I done heard the most sophisticated reasons. of why people don't get involved. But I see them involved in other things, but they're not involved with this, right? So political education gives you what you get at the doctor. It gives you the testing, the evaluation, the diagnosis of what's wrong, what's going on with our people, our condition, who caused it, and it gives you the prescription. It really is a foundation, or the foundation, for many things that we need, Brother Rod. And my concern and why I want to talk about this is because I don't think our community is understanding just how important a solid political education is, man. This ain't just about I'm from Africa and beating your chest in pride. That's a piece of it. And once you get through how proud you are, you get into work. Pride ain't gonna fix this. This is gonna be work. People who understand how we got here, what's wrong, can do research, good research, and say, no, this is how our people solved it in this era of time. This is how they did it, and this is how we're going to do it today. Fearlessness, to be the courage to go out and do the work that other people only talk about or dream about, and actually do it and show people it can be done. Rod did it. He did it. She did it. We can do it. What man has done, Garvey said man can do.
That's right.
But you don't come out the womb knowing that. So I want to be clear. This has to be taught. This ain't something you just come out organically. Yeah, we come from Africa and we're all one people, even though we were dispersed all over the world. And the same people that did that to them did it to us. You don't know that unless you're taught. So political education is the foundation of any real revolution, of any real effective social and political movement. And to the degree that you do that effectively, you're going to see some different level of results than the degree to which you don't teach people. People don't know what leadership looks like, how it's supposed to be, how it looks when it's done right, and how it looks when it's mucked up. If you don't teach that, people may assume, hey man, this bottle of water filled with feces and urine is great. It's cold, refreshing, tastes a little bitter. But if you don't have that glass of the conscious brothers and sisters that love our people and will live and sometimes die and sometimes kill for our people, if you don't have them presenting that real cold, clean glass, people will just go with that dirty germ-infested water and they will rock with that for the rest of their life. So somebody has to have the gumption to say, nah, man, put that down. Put them bowls of shit down, man. We deserve real cereal. Stop playing.
Right.
And put that into play. And those people are Garvey, X, to some degree, Farrakhan. We got critiques of him, of course. And Chokwe Lumumba and Asada Shakur, Daruba bin Wahar, shout out to the Baba. Walimu Baruti. These are the people that's Yah Baruti. I would like to think those of us here at Harlem Liberation School, people like yourself, that are the Father Clarence 13X, Father Allah. These are people who came, Elijah Muhammad, who came and said, no, you're eating a bowl of shit. And they made you be cool with that. Get that out of here. We the original man and woman of this entire planet. And we ain't eating well. Nobody eating well. And if other people eating well, we going to eat well too. And put something there to make that happen. That comes not intrinsically, not automatically. That comes from people who know who they are, love who they are, know who their enemies are, know who their allies are, know what they're here to do, and believe that they can win if they organize. That's political education.
Okay,
That's
so for the people that are just joining us, we're talking to Brother Agyei Tyehimba of Harlem Liberation School. I would encourage everyone at this point to go to Harlem Liberation School on YouTube. That channel again is Harlem Liberation School on YouTube. And make sure you like and subscribe to the channel to get more good information like this. Now, Brother Agyei, you talked about the Wizard of Oz analogy and the different mentalities. I'm going to add a layer to that if I could. I learned in my research that there are 5 mentalities among Black people subsequent to European disruption and European contact. The first of the 5 is the revolutionary. And we're going to unpack each one. I'm going to just go through the list and I'll have you unpack each one. The revolutionary Revolutionary is defined by definition as someone who wants to bring about fundamental change in a society. So for us, the revolutionaries include people like Martin Delany, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Huey P. Newton, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, so forth. So that's number one. Number two, you have those people that are misguided. You talked about the people that say we're not African and somehow we're Native American. Saying we're not African is like saying the sun is not hot. You may as well believe in Santa Claus and a tooth fairy if you're going to believe that. So the misguided person, they get a little bit of information, could be disinformation, could be misinformation, but they run with that and they try to spread it, right? So in addition to that, you have the self-hater. These are people that want to bleach. They want to wear, blonde hair weaves and wigs that they're buying from Koreans, right? You said that there's people that believe that the other man's ice is colder, right? All of this is self-hate. In addition to that, you have the people also that are totally ignorant to culture and struggle. They don't want to get involved in anything revolutionary. They're not trying to, facilitate any change. They just kind of want to go along to get along and get a more comfortable seat. And the fifth mentality is the whatever. These are people that might have a semblance of Black consciousness, but they think the system of structural racism, which is based on the myth of white supremacy, it's too big, it's too elaborate. We can't fight that. So all that Black stuff, that's whatever. I'm just trying to get paid and do me and do for my family. So we're gonna unpack each one of those individually. The revolutionary is a person that wants to bring about fundamental change. What are your thoughts on that idea, the revolutionary?
Yeah. First, let me say this. If y'all are listening and you're intelligent, and I know you are, then what you just noticed is that what he basically said is almost identical to what I said. They're the same things, just different packaging.
Sure.
Right? It's the same things. And that's very important. We understand that you have, and that's political education. I missed one. Critical thinking. The ability to hear something and make those connections. Right? That's very important. Revolutionaries, they absolutely don't want, Brother Ra. You know that. Because the revolution is going to say, you get strokes and you got this and that. Let's check out what you're eating. And they're going to say, we need to eat differently. And they're going to say, this government is capitalist government has to change the way they pay people and underpay people and don't give insurance and benefits. And they're going to fight to change the system. And a lot of people say 360, which is probably inaccurate. It's a 180. 360 means you're coming right back to where you were. 180 means you're going in the exact opposite direction. So revolutionaries are trying to change the system to put it in a whole nother direction to upset the power, like I believe what Brother Traore did in Burkina Faso, for example. Kick the white man, the French out, create their own banks and this and that. So absolutely, that's a revolutionary. And revolution is physical, political, economic, cultural, and mental.
Okay, so you said they don't want us they don't want us being revolutionary. They want everybody wearing Crocs instead, right?
That's not, bro. Can't tie their shoes. That's crazy.
Can't tie their shoes.
Buy their goods and to be willing to pay for their overpriced items and go to their schools and keep losing. Here's the thing. They want us to keep losing. If I could sum it up, they want to be poor, dumb, keep complaining, be mad, but keep losing and refuse to do anything about it.
Yeah, now I'm gonna say this just to add on. The difference between a revolutionary and every other mentality is the revolutionary is adamant about engaging in direct action, as opposed to indirect action, which is what politics is, just voting for politicians or voting for someone else to engage in the action for you. The revolutionary is about direct action. Now, number two is those people that are misguided. What can you tell us about the mentality of those people that are misguided?
Yeah, that's like the Dorothys. They lost, man. And we understand why they lost, because we know the school system they went through. We know the curriculums that they went through, what they were taught. They were taught very little about Africa. And they were taught about the same 3 to 5 Black leaders or individuals they picked to teach us about. So we know why they're lost. That's not their fault, technically. But yeah, these are people who don't want to identify with Africa. But why would they want to? I'm not thinking like us. Why would black people want to love Africa when what they see on the news? I know when I was coming up, brother, if I didn't have my mother and father, God knows what I would have thought of Africa. But I saw little Sally Struthers from All in the Family. She was the daughter with the little African kid with his hair and comb and the big belly out to here and flies buzzing all over him, ashy and dirty in a diaper. And she's like, this little Zabukwe, if you know the money that you spend on your coffee today, if you send it to us, Zabukwe's whole family could eat for 3 days.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn. Or you saw the Somali, remember what was happening in Somalia?
Sure.
Or Ethiopia, and there's famines, and so a lot of us associate Africa with death, disease, extreme poverty, and extreme deprivation. So why would an African American say, hey, I'm proud to be African? Most of our people say, hey, I'm like to be like the white man, because we associate him with cure and prosperity and beauty. How many of our little girls, and we need to be honest, and boys, when we saw our little shows, it's like, oh, I want to be like that. I want to have hair. I want to be cute like that. I want to be, yeah, because we've seen it on TV. And conversely, what we saw of ourselves looked ugly, and we were taught it was ugly. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but that is why people would not want to associate with Africa. They've done everything they could to disconnect us from Africa. And to some degree, they've been successful. Some of us is actually running around here talking about, I saw a video where they say, I'm not African. I'm Native American. And they had on, they were just like Indians.
Whoa.
And I was, yo, and it was in heavy rotation.
Wow.
And people, that's right, teach, tell them.
Wow, that's sad. That's sad.
That's genetically, anthropologically, completely wrong. There is no evidence for that.
That's right. That's right.
And I'm not trying to disparage our indigenous populations. I'm saying everybody comes out of Africa, is descended from Africa. Africa is the birthplace of humanity. There's different theories on where in Africa. Right. Was it one place in Africa? Was it 2 or 3? But the science is clear for decades. Tools, they've looked at tools, they looked at skeletons, who's walking upright, who's walking like a dog.
Right.
And we're not gonna get into that. Who's a Neanderthal, who's Homo sapien. Not gonna get into that. But that's clear that that's our people, and we descend from them.
Now,
so
let me add,
that's to make them hate themselves, bro.
Sure. Let me add to that though. The system of structural racism, which is based on the myth of white supremacy, has gone above and beyond to make Africa the losing team. And so subsequent to that, nobody wants to be on the losing team. So we have people saying, hey, I'm not African, right? Nobody wants to be on a losing team. And the great Dr. Yosef Ben-Jochannan said, if it wasn't for one single event in history, people would not be trying to deny their Africanness. And that one single event is this episode of African enslavement that we refer to as the Ma'afa. It facilitates what would be the next of the 5 mentalities, which is self-hate. Expound a little bit on self-hate of our people.
Well, I think that's pretty that one is self-explanatory. You don't see value in yourself. And this goes very deep, family. I want us to not be superficial with this stuff. This stuff has several layers. Self-hate is not just, I hate my nose and my lips and my butt. Self-hate is, I don't think I have value. I don't think my word counts. I don't think that I have entitled to have an opinion. When other people who look like me speak on my behalf, my automatic thing is they can't win the presidency. They can't. They're not going to be successful. All of that is our expressions that you don't think that your people that's out here trying to make stuff happen going to be successful. You finding ways to cut them down and to be disparaging. All of that is part of self-hate. And obviously, people who are oppressing you want you to hate yourself so you don't fight for yourself. Because when you love yourself, you're going to be like, yo, don't talk to me like that. Straight up, I don't care who it is. And if they mad, they mad. Right? If you know your real value for real, you be like, yo, who you talking to like that?
Exactly.
Let me
Exactly.
remind you. Or you're gonna say, yo, why is our garbage? Why is our street all dirty all the time? You're gonna take ownership of your where you live, how people treat you, and you're going to resist certain things. But if you hate yourself and you weak and lowly, you actually believe you deserve. This goes back to what I said earlier. You deserve the bowls of shit. So if you think you deserve the bowls of shit, you're gonna say, "Can I have some more? Just give me a little a spart of me in mine, a few more teaspoons of sugar," and you accept it.
Yeah.
But when you love yourself, you're gonna say, "Nah, man." Like Malcolm said, I see everybody eating at the table, and I'm just sitting at the table watching other people eat. I'm not a
Right.
diner. I'm just sitting there watching y'all.
Right.
So yeah, the self love is the foundation, and one of the reasons I argue as an educator that when our children fail in anything, you can almost 100% somewhere tie that into when they look in the mirror, brother. Regardless of what they say, they're not seeing beauty and value and achievement and capacity. It kind of always that's the foundation block. I wrote a book called Truth for Our Youth, and I said that's the key piece that people love and value themselves. If they don't, you can almost predict a lot is going to go wrong for them.
Yeah.
That's preventable.
Yeah. I was a great Dr. Amos Wilson, I believe, that said that the system deliberately destroyed the love that we have for ourselves and each other. And it's very deliberate. Now that leads to the next mentality among the five, which is the people that are totally ignorant to culture and struggle. And I think the misguided and the self-hating person is also the person that's ignorant to culture and struggle. What can you tell us about the mentality of those people that are completely ignorant to culture and struggle?
They need political education.
There you go.
That's the whole point of this. See, you notice how all this goes back to that.
Yes.
All of this is tying back to if a person knew who they were, where they came from, the great things they did, would they hate themselves?
No.
Nope. Right? So if a person knew that there were other times in history where their people looked like them, were oppressed and mistreated and exploited, but they organized and did something about it and changed it, would they feel we shouldn't get involved, shouldn't do nothing, I don't think it's gonna work? No, because they would know, they would have historical memories. They'd be able to say, oh no, Montgomery bus boycott, right? Or whatever they would point to. Adam Clayton Powell fought organized Black people to make sure that CUNY schools hired Black and Latino professors. He fought. He didn't just say complain and do nothing. And because they fought, they won. Now, we don't have all victories, but if people know the history of it, the political education, they will never take such a reactionary position. That, well, we can't win. Well, of course you can't win if you don't fight. That's a fact.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
But if you fight, there is a chance that you will win.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, man, that's right and exact.
I use boxing as a metaphor for everything. And the boxing trainers would say you have to throw punches to win a fight. If you run in the whole round, you're not going to win that fight. So that's the same concept. But then now that fighting, that goes into the next or in the last concept, which is the whatever. These are people that have a semblance of Black consciousness, but they think the system is too elaborate, it's too big. So their thing is like, that's whatever. Like, we can't really fight. We got to get this more comfortable seat and just go along to get along and hope that white supremacy overlooks us. What are your thoughts on this person that is the whatever? They know something should be done, but their attitude is, that's whatever. I'm not going to help to fight that.
Yeah, see, I relate that to the cowardly lion. Who, remember I said he has all the things. You said they have a semblance of consciousness. They have this. They have the basics. So why ain't they doing nothing?
Right.
This is where we have to be, and this is what I mean by the critical thinking that political education is supposed to inculcate in us. We should be saying, damn, my cousin or my boy has all this education, all this ability, got knowledge of self, God, body, and all of that. Can run it down. Why does he do nothing? for black people.
Right.
Why when you introduce something, he always got, oh no, because what you said, Brother Rod, this is my take on it, is that those are excuses. Though that's not a representation of truth. Oh, it's too elaborate. They'll tell you a million different things, brother. Anything except I'm going to get involved. And I believe when you see that, it has a connection to fear or lack of faith. This is a person that's afraid. I know we can do this and we can do that and we want it in the past. But if I do that, I'm gonna lose my job, man. Stop playing. Or I'm gonna get beat up. I'm gonna go to jail. They're gonna kill me. Then they bring out all the history they know to justify what happened to them. Or it's people who don't believe. And I'm gonna tell you something. I'm not trying to sound like a pastor here, but those invisible things are more important than the physical things. The invisible things lead to the physical. You could tell me so. You could get me a person who is the most beautiful sister, beautiful complexion, shape, fitness, intelligence, right? Why don't you run for Miss Marcus Garvey pageant? Me? I'm not pretty. You look at them like, what? I'm out of shape. You look at them like, what? They just did 50 chin-ups in a row, doing push-ups, diamond push-ups, but they don't believe. See, you can have all that, but if you don't believe, none of this matters. None of it. And you show me somebody that has a fraction of knowledge of African history, but they believe that we can win. They believe we deserve better. They're going to go farther than the person with all that stuff and don't believe. Right? Yeah. So you see people that you knew 30 years ago, they was in the same place on the corner, in the same seat, and they in that same seat now. And they giving you, oh, this because this happened, that happened, and then this one left me, and then possibly all that happened, and that may have affected them. But a lot of times we don't believe. And if you can hypnotize people, good brother, and remove what they call conscious thought and break it down, there's no conscious thought now. It's your subconscious. It's pure truth. Do you love yourself? No. That's what you'd hear. Right. Do you think you're attractive? No. Do you believe black people are strong? No. Do you connect with Africa? Do you see people? No. Do you think we can win? No. Do you think white people are better? No. You know how I know that? Because Kenneth Clark and his wife, Mamie Clark, did a famous doll experiment.
Yeah.
In the 50s. And they used dolls, and they did this with kids. Then a sister that went to Howard did it too in maybe 2000, early 2000s. Same result. Which doll is pretty? The white doll. Which doll you trust? The white doll. Which doll's ugly? The black. See, kids don't have that. That's why they chose kids. They could have done it with adults, Brother Robert. They would have had to what? Hypnotize them and remove their ability to lie.
Right. That's true.
So when you see people that's talking all that, but they ain't moving, their movement and their action isn't commensurate with what they say they believe or want to do, you got to say, well, why is that? Maybe they don't believe in themselves. Maybe they don't believe they're worthy. Maybe there's some self-hatred. But it's something that's getting in the way.
Yeah. The seventh principle of the Nguzo Saba is faith. And not faith in any unseen entity in the sky that's not doing anything for you anyway. It's faith in yourself, faith in your elders, faith in your mission and in your movement. In my book, I refer to it as revolutionary optimism. And most of us don't have that revolutionary optimism because a lot of people are afraid. And now courage, you talked about the lion and courage. Courage is not the idea of not being afraid. Courage is feeling the fear and going forward anyway, because you know what you're doing is right. So I don't want people to get that mixed up. This idea of courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you understand the fear and the danger, but you're going to go forward anyway because you're that adamant about getting it done. So yeah, those are the 5 mentalities, and you link that into and tied it into this concept of the Wizard of Oz and the different characters and what they were lacking. So I wanted to put that out there because I wanted you to go ahead and expound on that. But in the time that we have left, I would like for you to talk about your books and the YouTube channel, Harlem Liberation School. We start with the books first. the most recent book is Wukusu. What about Wukusu? What do we need to know about that book?
Wukusu is a self-empowerment handbook. So a lot of the issues we have as a community, many of them come from white supremacist frameworks and their actions and their legislation and their devilishment. However, if we are honest, they are responsible for our oppression, but only we are responsible for our liberation and salvation. And the only ones qualified to save us is us. This means the cleanup section of what Brother Malcolm said. Wake up, clean up, stand up. What are my self-defeating behaviors? Notice I said self-defeating. What are the things I do every day or fail to do every day that result in lost money, lost resources, broken relationships, projects that's messed up, whatever gets in the way of what I want to do, right? And then assessing that, being honest, identifying it, and then putting something in place to address it. Sometimes it means eliminating habits and replacing them with better habits. Sometimes it means a tweak, just a little tweak, a shift in how we see things, not getting mad at every single thing. Say, oh, these things are part of life. I was taught really young, good brother Ra. Hey man, sometimes it don't work your way, brother. It ain't gonna work your way. Sometimes you're not gonna get what you want. Oh, you get what you want, but it'll be years later than what you expected. That's part of life. So you go into life with an accurate perception, so you're not rattled when stuff don't go your way. You say, oh, that's part of it, and you take it as what? A lesson, right? So I don't know if that addressed it.
Yeah, but we're talking about the book, so you kind of expanding on.
So Wukusu is trying to help our people with things I know we struggle with. I know that as a teacher dealing with students and parents and other adults. That's one of those professions you meet everybody in the community. And the constant things people would say, we living in fear. We don't believe in ourselves. We got focus issues. We say we want to do this, but we're doing a billion other things. And the thing we say we want to do never gets done, right?
Yeah.
We don't have lock in on what we're here to do. So therefore, I'm kind of drifting like feathers in the wind. Wherever the wind blows, we go, right? Because we haven't locked in on, I can help and I can do A, B, and C, but I'm here to do this. And I'm not letting nobody move me off the square to get me into some other weird stuff they trying to get me into. No freak offs for me.
Right. So
I'm here to save black people.
How can people get the book?
Oh, he's corny. No problem. No problem. That's what y'all here to do. I'm here to do this. No freak offs for me. I want to be real clear. I was at none of the Diddy parties, fam. So it's very important that, and this is what Wukusu is trying to do. So we talk about overcoming fear, what to do when you have tough times. Because we got tough times. People die. Your money's wrong. This happens. Somebody left you. Whatever. You in the hospital. You in physical pain. Everything. How do you process that in a way that's empowering? Because we're all gonna go through it. The difference between the empowered people and the ones who aren't is how they process, and it makes all the difference in the world. You take one person, put them through this. Put another person, put them through the same thing. If this person's in power, they're gonna look at it differently.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, oh man, another day I made it. Now they may have both their legs cut off, both their arms cut off, and an ear cut off, and they blind. They're like, ah man, another day. The other person, God damn, they took my arm, my leg. You see? Yeah. So it's how you process.
Sure.
Because the mind is our CPU. How this functions dictates a lot of our reality and how we respond to our reality. So you can have a person that's mad rich and mad lonely, mad miserable, mad, and you can have a person that don't have all that and they just at peace.
Yeah, sure.
Content. They're good. They would love to have a little more, but they're not rattled. They all right. And they know if they want to do something, they can move a certain way and they can do that. So Wukusu is trying to get us together, Brother Ra. Is very little to no mention of white folk. Is about what we need to do. Because the truth of the matter is, they're not going to stop oppressing us because we talking about them. Right? And they're not going to stop oppressing us because we mad. They're gonna stop oppressing us when we make them stop oppressing us.
Yeah. So how can people get the book?
They can go right on Amazon or wherever books are sold. Type in Wukusu, WUCUSU, or easiest way, type in my name, which you see on the screen. Go to Amazon.com, and all the books will come up. Have a book on leadership, and that I think is very helpful for people who want to understand some of the basics. I'm working on a new book. I'm not going to talk about that too much. I'm working on a new book I think is going to be very useful for grassroots organizations.
Nice.
So that's if you forget, type my name in. Type in Harlem Liberation School and you'll come to it.
Yes. And you just mentioned the YouTube. I was going to go there next. Harlem Liberation School. We want to encourage people to go to Harlem Liberation School on YouTube and watch some of those videos. Get some more knowledge. Get some more of this information if you feel inclined to do so. Now, Brother Agyei, we're out of time, but I'm thinking in the next 4 weeks, on the first Monday of next month, we might have to go in and talk about those people that are saying that Black people are not African and somehow we're something else. I think we might have to spend some time on that, because that's a subject that we seem to always circle back to, although we don't really want to touch on it. But I think we might have to spend some time on that in the next live. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think we should do that with actual facts. And the actual facts. And we got Runoko Rashidi, rest in power to him, one of the most well-traveled. I think he was an anthropologist too. So he was a scientist. He wasn't just talking. He's talking about fossils and artifacts. He's showing and proving. Sure. Right. So we have people that have done all the research, man. Check on the Diop. I mean, this stuff is conclusive at this point. Unless they find a skeleton over in Europe somewhere. No, with some blonde hair on it, and that goes back further than Africa, which ain't happening no time soon, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. No. It is what it is. We're the cradle of humanity and civilization, so I think we should do it and bring the science into it.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's do that. Let's bring some science into it. But Brother Agyei, I want to thank you for being on. I want to thank everybody that was in the chat. We got a lot of good comments, but we went so on and on that I didn't even get a chance to mention people that were in the chat. But I just want to just generally thank everybody that chimed in the chat. I would definitely encourage you to pull us down again next time. And also remember to like and subscribe, and always make sure that you like and subscribe to the DJ Tiger channel, man. Shout out to DJ Tiger. Make sure you like and subscribe to DJ Tiger channel. Big up to everybody that joined us in the chat. And Brother Agyei, I want to thank you again for joining us, man. And we're going to come back in another 4 weeks. And we're going to bring the science.
No doubt. And I just want to let it be known, good brother Ra is now an official new member of my brother Hajiko La Kumbunga. These are brothers, man, Pan-Africans all over the world, fam. We got some in Africa, in the UK, and here. And he's now a new member. We're glad to have you, brother.
Yeah, and I'm glad to be on board. And we don't just talk about Pan-Africanism, we live it.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's the goal. But okay, Brother Agyei, we're going to let you go. I appreciate your time, brother, and we'll talk to you again in 4 weeks.
Yes, sir. Wukusu, thank you, family. Peace.
Wukusu, brother. Peace.